Amables amigos, welcome back to another episode of the Club Lucha Podcast. I'm your host today, Foos, alongside no one else. Actually, today it is just me. Soups and Floke are not joining me today. Soups is still being hunted down by the TV Asahi people and New Japan for erroneous posting, and Floke is busy. Well, you know, in the last episode, Floke was talking about taking a step back, being a little less involved. So today's episode is coming just directly from me. For those of you who are longtime listeners, I guess, if you were here for the first episodes of this podcast, which were now, about 2 years ago, actually, maybe a little over 2 years ago, you'll remember that it started off with just me. And for today, it is back to that format. So today's episode may not be as long, but I do hope it is, for you at least, as informative as previous episodes. And I'm hoping at least a little entertaining to keep you along for the entire ride. Of course, in order to do that, I have to talk about things that may interest you. And today we are starting off first with Triplemania. And a question that I have seen time and time again in the last 2 weeks. I know it's been 2 weeks since Triplemania. You guys are probably like, why didn't you put this out the Monday after? I have had a lot to do these past 2 weeks, but I'm putting one out today. And this episode, we'll be talking about Triplemania. It's not going to be a full comprehensive. I'm not going through every match, but just some of the highlights, some of the comments I've seen, some of the criticisms, some of the positives, just an overview. But one thing I do want to talk about, at least a little bit of detail, is the question on a lot of people's mind after watching that show, especially people who have not been keeping up with AAA maybe as closely or at all, actually, and they witnessed El Hijo del Vikingo being booed heavily by the Mexican audience. This is a stark contrast to what happens when the WWE puts on their Worlds Collide show, or when he is in the US, he gets a much bigger cheering reaction. And I want to start off this episode by talking about maybe why that is. I don't want to say this is the definitive reason, but my observations over time as to when this started and how it has gone since then. The first thing I want to talk about regarding this situation is the denial that was kind of displayed by people when this first started happening. And I will say it was mainly by people who had not been watching AAA, had no idea really why he would be booed at all. But there was this denial online when he first started getting booed back at, I believe it was the show on May 31st at Juan de la Barrera in La Ciudad de Mexico. There were a lot of people that night when people correctly pointed out that, well, El Hijo del Vikingo is getting booed. The people were not happy about the title change at the end of that match, or the reaction at the end of that match denoted, not a lot of happiness, a lot of boos, some cheers. The immediate reaction seemed to be for a lot of people that, well, that's not true. Actually, they were cheering, you're lying. To everyone who would try and point that out. And the big example, shout out to Cubs fan and Lucha Blog. There were people when he posted this, and I'm saying this because Cubs is someone who has followed this space for a super long time. I read like all of his write-ups. I take what he says very like, I hold his opinion in high esteem because he is someone that has, watched all of this, has been watching Lucha Libre for a long time, been writing about it, and is not someone who is just going to be saying things to say them, right? He has an informed opinion. I guess, ultimately, that's what I'm trying to say here. He's someone with an informed opinion, and he was expressing, what he saw that day. And a lot of, I will say, and is a very specific type of person that was, saying he was lying, basically saying, oh, you're just anti-WWE, you're just anti-AAA. No, he was right. He was absolutely correct in his observation that was the start of the audience kind of turning against El Hijo del Vikingo. And I have seen some people try to explain this turn as them just hating Vikingo because of his size, and people are like, oh well, he's not like a real wrestler because like he's not a real luchador because he doesn't do llaves, and he doesn't know any. He's just puro circo, like what they say. A lot of the more purist kind of fans like to say, oh, es puro circo, like it's pure theatrics, pure circus, gymnastics, stuff like that. I'm not so sold on that being the reason, because I mean those kind of people have always really existed, but it's not like they just kind of took over the crowd out of nowhere. One thing that you can one thing that I'm pointing out when I'm kind of explaining this is a lot of this comes around because of the booking itself of AAA. If you have been watching over the last year, you will know that Alberto El Patron and Latin Lover, since last year's Triplemania, had been setting up, not have, because it's not going to happen anymore, had been setting up this long-term storyline where El Patron is basically this, I don't want to say he's unstoppable, but he was unstoppable in that his group, El Ojo, the secretive group that is taking over AAA, was kind of helping him win and kind of positioning him as like this super like unbeatable kind of guy. Like countless technicos had gone up against him and lost. Vikingo had already lost to him when he came back, because you have to remember as well, Vikingo vacated his title because of an injury, and then he came back and he wasn't able to beat El Patron. So people kind of like were like, okay, well, someone is going to come eventually. And AAA built this entire thing. You can go back and watch. I mean, you can go back and see they kind of built this entire thing about somebody finally being able to beat El Patron, right? Like this was all going to come to a head at Triplemania. And a lot of speculation was, okay, El Patron is going to he's either going to bet his title or his hair, and it's going to be against Latin, or probably what was going to be more likely was someone that Latin Lover chose to represent him, almost like a champion, to go up against El Patron. And I think it was Latin's hair that would have been, the prize if Patron had won, and obviously to keep El Mega Campeonato. Unfortunately, around this time, that May 31st show, right, that match was only booked because WWE, they come in, around WrestleMania time, and they bought AAA, right? They buy AAA, and then if you remember, there was a Raw, an episode of Raw where they were promoting Worlds Collide. They announced Worlds Collide, and they said it would be Vikingo against Chad Gable, and then before they did this match, before they did the Patron match with Vikingo for the title, they were already promoting that Vikingo and Chad Gable match as being for the Mega Campeonato. So already there, people started being like, oh, well, he didn't earn it. He was kind of picked, right? Like, and I see some people, being like, Vikingo was picked. He was picked by WWE. He didn't earn the championship back from Alberto because Alberto already beat him. Like a lot of people are kind of being like, oh, well, Alberto was cheated out of that title. I will say to that, some people think that it is a kind of like a rage against WWE when it's really not, because if you're watching, you'll notice that a lot of the WWE talent, a lot of the WWE stars that are coming in are not getting booed, right? In fact, the crowds are getting behind them. People like Ludwig Kaiser with El Grande Americano, especially with Dominic Mysterio, they're getting cheers, right? So there's not like this movement against Vikingo is like a movement against WWE. I think some people kind of try to credit it that way. I wouldn't go that far. I think this is specifically just against Vikingo. A lot of AAA fans that I have seen online and have, been reading their opinions and stuff, mainly on Instagram, because there are way more Mexican AAA fans on the meta side, and we've talked about that before on this podcast. How you're not really going to see that many opinions on Twitter. The Twitter is mostly American fans, but a lot of AAA fans are not totally against some of these WWE. I mean, like, they're not against the WWE coming in, right? So that's a narrative that, I just don't think has a lot of basis to it, that AAA fans are just revolting against WWE. It is more of a targeted revolt against Vikingo. That being said, right, if you watch from between that May 31st show and then if you watch Worlds Collide, you'll hear all cheers for Vikingo. If you watch Triplemania Regia, and that was on June 15th, again, you're going to hear that was against El Patron, against Vikingo El Patron in a steel cage, very pro Patron crowd. And then at Verano de Escándalo on July 11th, Patron and Mesias against Vikingo and King Vikingo, very, very pro Patron crowd. Basically, every Mexican appearance since winning that championship, Vikingo has been getting very heavily booed. And that is kind of one of the things, now that we're kind of gone past a little bit, I want to talk about it in, I guess, conjunction with Triplemania itself. Going into that event, I definitely thought that they were going to put that Mega Campeonato on Dominic Mysterio or Ludwig Kaiser, Grande Americano, right? And I'm actually a little shocked and a little surprised that they kept it on Vikingo, because if you watch that match, if you watch, his entrance in the post, and it's just a hail of boos. And I think someone might have misread that situation. Maybe they thought getting Alberto out of the way there would cause the people to forget immediately and, get the babyface reactions, get the technical reactions for Vikingo. But that just was not the case. I think somebody may have underestimated the boos that he would get that night, because the people seemed very, very happy with the idea of a Dominic Mysterio win or a Grande Americano win. And, both of those guys, heels, definitely heels, rudos, but, way more support behind them than Vikingo had at Triplemania. I did think, like I said, I thought, I'll say this as well. I didn't think Dragon Lee had a chance in this one, just because, compared to everybody else, Dragon Lee's a great wrestler, a great luchador. I've said that before, but he has just not had the, the support behind him from the fans, and I guess from the WWE that the other ones have. So, for me, it was like 1% chance Dragon Lee. I want to say like 50% chance Dominic, 40% chance Grande Americano, 8% chance Vikingo. And that 8% was the one that won out. So I was wrong on that one. But the reactions, listen for yourself. Again, I'm not the arbiter of truth here. I'm just someone who's pointing out what he is hearing and seeing. More about Triplemania as well, that I would like to kind of touch on here. As you notice, I don't have anyone to riff off here. So going from subject to subject here, my transitions are a little shakier than normal, because usually I could just throw it to Soups, throw it to Floak while I, prepare, when, one of us prepares a segue or something like that. It's a little difficult, it's a little different as well. With just one person. I'm not complaining. This is what it started off. I just hope you guys understand. You guys aren't like, this guy is just bumbling and stumbling through this whole thing. Well, I'm just one man. Anyways, some observations from Triplemania. I think that a lot of the presentation was definitely pointed a lot towards maybe the Latino population in the U.S. A lot of it did feel like, also like Central and South America as well. It wasn't a solely Mexico audience focused show, if that makes sense. It's not a huge criticism, it's just an observation. For me, the match that I was most interested in was El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. against El Mesías. I thought that match was good. And more than that, I really thought, I really came away very happy to see El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. with some championship gold. I personally believe that El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. is the best luchador that AAA has at the moment. I think that at some point he should be the top guy there. I don't know which way the winds are blowing in terms of booking and future storylines and things like that, but I do believe that El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. is about a complete luchador as you can get for AAA. I struggle to think of anyone like better than him in, like, I guess in the ring, like being able to do everything that he can do, having the legacy behind him, the dynasty that's, he has 2 different dynasties behind him. We talk about it on here all the time. I just think, he at some point, if he's not the top guy for AAA at some point, then something is going wrong somewhere, Some criticisms that I have seen of the show. I don't share all of them. I'll tell you the ones I share, and I'll tell you the ones that I've seen that have just, piqued my interest, seeing people say these things or talk about it this way. I have seen a lot of people saying that this show was maybe a little too sanitized, maybe a little too sterile compared to previous Triplemanias. That it felt more like WWE presents Triplemania instead of like AAA. If that makes sense, right? I'm kind of understanding what they're saying with that. Some of the examples that they kind of gave were the street fight with Los Garza and Los Payasos, Psycho Clown and Pagano. No blood in that, and it kind of feels like that, being a street fight, should have had a little color in it. I can agree with that criticism. Yeah, maybe that could have been a little something they could have done there. One thing that I kind of definitely understand frustration about was no apuestas match on this one. There were definitely at least 2 opportunities, I think, 2 storylines, long-term, honestly, 2 long-term storylines that AAA had been working on the previous year that could have been, I guess, featured in some way. And I understand the Alberto one because, obviously it's feeling like WWE is really trying to distance themselves. And I actually do want to take a quick moment here, once again, because I feel like I have to, or else someone's going to try and gotcha me. I am personally not a fan of Alberto el Patron. I am not particularly captured by his work inside the ring. His reputation as a not so great person is also, a bit of a deterrent for him being a likable luchador. That's one of the big things people bring up about him. But even if we're not considering that, which it feels like a lot of the Mexican fans, that's not really something they consider that much. And that's honestly kind of one of the things that kind of helped a lot of them get behind him, was just that they were booking him so strong and like such a cool guy that, a lot of them just got behind him that way. And a lot of them don't really care about like any previous allegations or legal problems that he had in the past. That's just that's a non-factor for a lot of the Mexican fans. And I see a lot of people criticizing them for that, but there's something people say about glass houses, right? You can't be throwing stones at glass houses, or if you live in a glass house, I don't remember the saying, but it's something like that. The point I'm trying to make is that, you have to, a lot of a rebuttal that I've seen from, I guess, Mexican fans and people, especially against like, because a lot of the criticism, a lot of the shock and surprise that Alberto is liked or supported by Mexican AAA fans comes from like American WWE fans. And I mean, there are plenty of people within the American wrestling landscape who are supported, and may not, be the perfect person as well. And people find that very hypocritical. And they're like, okay, well, you are cheering for Brock Lesnar, but you are saying that it's disgusting that, people cheer for Alberto. And I'm not saying these are the same things. Again, observations I have seen, I have seen these things being said, and I do think that it is at least a little interesting to kind of see these rebuttals back, because, I mean, yeah, glass houses, like, you can't be cheering one thing because it's on your favorite show, but then, like, things like that. But again, I'm not an Alberto Patron fan. I have not been for a year, and I mean, me personally, I would have had somebody beat him at Triplemania, and then that'd be that, because then at least that kind of support would have actually gone to somebody, and it would not have just turned into boos against Vikingo. But what can you do? Can't change the past. That's already happened. But like I was saying, another storyline for the apuestas that could have been was Abismo Negro Jr. and El Fiscal. Of course, that was kind of abandoned, I guess, in a way. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why that one was abandoned, because that one, I mean, that could have been a show of good faith, I guess, that, we're not here to change things. Like, because they keep saying we're not here to change things, but they kind of like got rid of that storyline at Apuestas, which, to my knowledge, did not have anything problematic about it. So that one is not really anything problematic. Fiscal, I think, is a solid luchador. Abismo Negro Jr., he's also pretty good. I actually saw them wrestle live against each other earlier this year, and I thought it was pretty solid. And I think it could have done an Apuestas, and I think that could have been real nice for the name, because obviously Fiscal is the shoot son, the IRL son of Abismo Negro, and Abismo Negro Jr. is he took the name because AAA, a lot of these promotions will kind of recast a character with someone else. But again, though, Abismo Negro Jr. is very good. He's solid. But yeah, people were also a little put off. I saw a lot of people saying there wasn't really like a big memorable moment. I guess that kind of ties back into the too sanitized, too kind of sterile, too playing it a little too safe WWE presents kind of thing. What I think is that this is definitely a new era for AAA. It is from that Triplemania, the perspective that I am currently holding, that is that it is a little closer to WWE than AAA. The positives for me, the production is way better. That is one thing that is, day and night, that WWE production is way better. It feels more professional, the production as well. I understand, missing a dive and stuff, but the old, Triplemanias, some of that camera work was just like, come on, man, y'all got to get somebody better than this. And they did. So, positive. That's a positive of this relationship, is more professional there. The show was more concise. It was easier to get through, for sure. I think maybe, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, one of the past 2 year Triplemanias, there was one, it just kept going and going and going. And there was like this one moment where it was a Dr. Simi dance break. It was like a sponsorship kind of with pharmacies, and it was just there was still so much. And then there was like a Mortal Kombat DLC kind of segment. And I was just like, all right, we gotta, let's get through this thing. And, that's a positive, especially me. You know me, I'm going to be talking about it a lot later. I'm more of a CMLL enjoyer, and their shows are a lot more concise. And this one had, it was a much tighter show. I think that was good. I'm trying, I'm not going to just completely trash this show. I don't think it was just, garbage or anything. We're not going for any shock jock headlines here or anything like that. I'm not going to be like, this is the worst show ever. And I do think, though, that there's definitely room for criticism, and there's always room for good faith criticism. I've seen some people, again, the same kind of people that you think they would be is, very tribalist kind of. WWE can do no wrong. Y'all are just mad because Triplemania used to suck and now it doesn't suck, and that makes y'all mad. And it's like there's a middle ground that I think some people are not kind of, or some people don't think exists. I guess there's a middle ground that exists here between this is a WWE present show and this is just like old, low production, low quality, kind of like Triplemania. There's a middle ground there, and I think that once they find that, they'll be able to kind of, if they can find that, if that's the path that they want to go down, it's possible. But yeah, I mean, I just think that there's definitely valid criticisms, and it's just going to take time to see, how many of. Because some of these criticisms may also be a little premature. It's going to take time. Some people will say as well, and I kind of understand this as well, well, the precedent that WWE usually sets is, it hasn't worked out before for a lot of these places once WWE takes over. So, I'm not going to judge anything like that. I'm not going to speak against anything like that. There are people, especially if you can back it up. Right? If you can back up your criticisms, if you can back up why you think things are going to go down a certain way, then it's completely valid, right? It's just empty kind of criticisms and empty kind of praise don't really sway me like at all if you can't back it up. And if I'm not just saying if you don't have any reasons, if your reasons don't make sense either, you can just kind of poke holes into some of these things. It's like, why would I listen to that? And I'm not saying you have to listen to me. I'm not saying that my criticisms are completely correct and anyone who doesn't agree is against me and wrong, right? Obviously, you can think whatever you want. I'm just saying what, I see and what I think and what I am, observing with my own eyes. Let's see. Worlds Collide 2 kind of got announced as well. They're going to do Vikingo and Dominic Mysterio one-on-one for that Mega Campeonato. Again, I am of the thought that Dominic wins here. Surely, Vikingo would get cheered. The thing is, since it is in Vegas, this is not a show in Mexico, by the way. So this is a show in Vegas, I believe, around the time of the Canelo fight. I think maybe next month, actually. Maybe in a few weeks, actually. I have to recheck the date on that. But they just kind of called it Worlds Collide again. A little confusing there on that one. I'm not sure if all the U.S. kind of all the U.S. pay-per-views, PPVs, that's crazy. Pay-per-views, I almost called it a PLE. That's the problem, and I will never call it a PLE. It's just a pay-per-view. We can just call it a pay-per-view. Anyway, yeah, I think, I'm not sure if they're just going to call all of the US ones Worlds Collide. This is the second one now. I feel like they could be some better names. Obviously, of course, you want to keep your big Triplemania show names, like Verano de Escándalo, Guerra de Titanes, the bigger shows like that. Obviously, I feel like those will have to be kept like that. But I don't know. I kind of thought that they would have something in the back pockets, another event name ready to go for the next one, but it's just, again, Worlds Collide, which, I guess we'll see how that goes. That'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. Again, I'm thinking Dominic wins. If he doesn't and they still keep it on Vikingo, I don't know, man. If they do that and they go back to Mexico for another show and they just keep the Vikingo reign going, then I'm not sure they're as in tune with the audience as they may think. But then again, maybe they're willing to sacrifice, getting boos in Mexico versus getting cheers in America. I'm not sure. It's just something that we'll just need to play out, I guess. Anyways, I think that's enough for Triplemania. I don't really have that many other thoughts on many of the other matches. Again, let me know what you thought, actually. I'm actually interested in what you guys thought, more so than I have more words for it. Down in the comments, what did you think about Triplemania? Give me your honest opinion as well. If you thought it was fantastic, best show you've ever seen, I want to know that. If you thought it was just okay, I'd want to know that. And if you thought it was terrible, give me your reasons for that as well. It's something to consider. Moving on, the other big company, and the one that I prefer to watch a little more, that runs more frequently, CMLL. Let's do a quick roundup of the past 3 weeks of shows that I have not been able to discuss with you guys yet on podcast because we have not done an episode. I guess I've not done an episode. So the first one, I'm not going to go through every match. Of course, that would be very tedious and probably boring to you guys, and you turn off this podcast immediately, and that's not something I want. I want you guys to be entertained and listen, and, especially if you're not keeping up and you need a way, and maybe this is that way you like to hear me talk about it. And if you do, I really appreciate that. Everybody's still listening. I really appreciate you. Anyways, August 8th, the Friday show for CMLL. I'm not going to be talking every Tuesday and every Saturday either because, again, it's just me. My voice can only go for so long. I've gone 30 minutes at a pretty solid pace, I'd like to think. I can feel it a little bit. I'm not tapping out. I'm going to get through this. Maybe we'll go 45, maybe even 50. I can do 50 minutes solo. Hey, hang my jersey up in the Club Lucha rafters. Anyways, first match from 8-8 that I want to talk about is Blue Panther against Ultimo Guerrero. In one word, incredible. In 4 words, maybe 5 words. Actually, this is 6 words. One of the best of the year. There is history between these two luchadores, obviously, without even talking about the actual match first. Ultimo Guerrero and Blue Panther, there are at least 4 recorded matches, singles matches between the two. I have not watched... Okay, so the first one that you can find... July 25th, 2004. This is in Arena Coliseo de Guadalajara, and it was for the CMLL Light Heavyweight Championship. I have not watched this one, and I have not yet watched their match from June 3rd, 2008 in Arena Mexico. I did watch live, actually, last year their match in Arena Coliseo on November 30th. That match was great, right? And on top of their in-ring history together, I remember reading someone was talking about, back in the day when Blue Panther lost his mask to Villano Quinto, right? I remember reading that Ultimo Guerrero said that he was going to avenge Blue Panther against Villano Quinto, and he did. Ultimo Guerrero took Villano Quinto's mask. I'm pretty sure it was at the next Homenaje a dos Leyendas. So that loss was avenged, and I don't know. That's just a cool little tidbit, cool little trivia fact. These guys do have met up in the ring quite a few times. They've met up in the ring as well. We don't have a recording of it. I guess there's no recording of it online for it. Many times. I can count them right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times total. And 4 have a recording that I am aware of. Anyways. This match, absolutely incredible. These two, masters of their craft. And this match kind of is one of those things that kind of proves 2 things. The first is that age can only hold you back so far. I guess, taking care of your body, kind of working this style of lucha libre, like a lot of llave, a lot of, you know, Panther style. I don't really know how to describe it better than that. Like, he's like a technician, you know, he's kind of like, you know, submissions, llaves, like he does a lot. I mean, it really, God, I mean, he's up. I mean, he's really up there in age. I don't know anyone 60 plus who's putting on. He is the best wrestler in the world over 60 years old. Might be the best wrestler in the world over 50 years old. Only reason I'm not completely behind that statement is that Ultimo Guerrero is also over 50, and I kind of consider him maybe the best in the world over 50 as well. And I'll say that not just because of this match. I mean, this match reinforces that idea, but Ultimo Guerrero, I mean, in any role you can think of, I would think, especially for 2025, and I was going to talk about this later, how I think a lot of people I've seen online talking about Ultimo Guerrero has a solid case for one of the best wrestlers of the year for this year. I agree with that because, I mean, his singles matches are, you know, great. When he's with Los Guerreros Laguneros, that's great. This build to Anniversario, the best part of it has been Ultimo Guerrero and Averno, right? I think that if they, you know, 1% chance it feels like, because, you know, these two are always like kind of like getting in the mix for these sorts of like multi-man mask matches, but it never really ends. It never ends with just them two. If it did, we're talking about like maybe like all-timer kind of stuff, you know, like their match, Ultimo Guerrero and Averno, Apuestas, like that is like the match. That's the best possible match that could come out of this year's Anniversario like build, right? And for those kind of out of the loop, it's Ultimo Guerrero, Averno, Bárbaro Cavernario, Dragón Rojo Jr., Esfinge Valiente. The best one, I think, is Ultimo Guerrero, Averno. Second, Bárbaro Cavernario, Dragón Rojo Jr. Third, unfortunately, Esfinge Valiente. They just keep bringing that one back, and it's still not going to pay off. Part of me is a little worried that that's going to be, you know, the one for this year. They're finally going to pay that one off. If they don't, never bring it back again. I'd be okay with them just never bringing that one back, because that's enough. Like, the build can only go so far. You have to deliver at some point, right? Especially because, and I hate to say it, but this, I don't want to trash anybody here, but like, to me, it's just not been as captivating. Esfinge and Valiente has just not been as captivating as the idea of Ultimo Guerrero and Averno, right? To me, that is the biggest match possible. And I think that's not even like a hot take. I'm saying that like that's a hot take or something. It's not. Like, I think literally every single person who sees this lineup would agree, yeah, the best match here would be Ultimo Guerrero and Averno, right? But, of course, Ultimo Guerrero, unbelievable. Some of the stuff that him and Panther were doing together, only those two could do it together, right? Blue Panther is the only 64-year-old, I think he's 64, maybe a little older, 60-plus-year-old who would go up on Ultimo Guerrero's shoulders on the top rope and hit a Huracan Rana, right? And Ultimo Guerrero is the only person who I think could be trusted to do that spot, right? If that makes sense. There's a ton of great bases, right? There's a ton of great, like, people who are very trustworthy and can do these sort of things. I think Ultimo Guerrero right now is the best one. Like, you know, we can just be completely honest here. And that's not a knock against anybody else. I just think he's that good. I think he's just got, you know, obviously the experience and the brain to be able to put all these things together. And that's Blue Panther Ultimo Guerrero match. If you have not watched it, I cannot recommend it enough. Like, my one single, and I'll say it, my one thing that does knock it out of it being the best match of the year, that I cannot say is the definitive best match of the year, was the ending. That was just a little abrupt, you know. And I understand it, you know. Maybe they didn't want to do it. MLW didn't want to do a title change for Blue Panther. If this was like a non-title match and Blue Panther won, the way that they were building that whole match, it would have undeniably been the best match of the year for me so far. There's been a lot of great matches. Again, I'm not putting anything down when I say these things. I'm just saying this was awesome. This was awesome. And anyone, I think if anyone's ragging on age or being like, they just need to retire, I just don't think you understand what it takes. I just don't think you understand what this is all about, honestly. Like, a lot of things to hate on in wrestling, a lot of things to hate on in Lucha Libre. This is not one for me. Not even close. From that same show, Barbosa and Templario, also a very good match. I thought this was a great opportunity for Barbosa. I think that all of the members of El Galeón Fantasma have recently been getting some pretty awesome opportunities, singles matches, being, main event trios. And I think that every time they basically show why they are given these opportunities, that they can deliver on them. And Barbosa, I think he really did. I think this was his biggest singles opportunity to date. And I think that he did a great job. And he can only go up from here, right? He can only continue building from here. Great stuff. There was one moment where Barbosa flew into the front row. It was awesome. But I don't think you can be doing that in CMLL. I think maybe that's not something that they smile upon. From that show as well, the main event, Atlantis Jr., Máscara Dorada, and Místico against Ángel de Oro, Difunto, and Hechicero. There's not even that much to say beyond, this type of match is always going to hit for CMLL. The main event trios with Místico, 2 top técnicos against 3 top rudos, like, it's, I don't think there's anything more consistent in all of professional wrestling than CMLL Friday trios main events. I've said it before. I will continue saying it until it's incorrect to say. But for now, that is the correct statement to make about this sort of match. Great stuff there. I do think, though, that Ultimo Guerrero and Blue Panther was, I think, honestly, a little bit better. Not that this was bad, but, from the next week, August 15th, 2025, there was a Torneo Cibernético in match 3 that featured all of the Anniversario Apuestas participants. I mentioned 6 earlier that they're in one match, and then there's going to be a match specifically where Felino and Rey Bucanero. Ultimo Guerrero won this. This match was really good as well, this Cibernético. If you missed this one, definitely go back and watch this one. I thought it was really, really solid. Los Hermanos Chavez, Ángel de Oro, and Niebla Roja defeated Templario and Titan. Good match. Not the best tag match of the evening, but a good match. The best tag match of the evening, and I think the best match of that entire night, was Hologram and Místico against the Funto and the Beast Mortos. This match was really, really good. And honestly, how could it not be? Look at the 4 guys. Like, these are 4 of my favorite guys. Again, like, I know I say that a lot, but like all of my favorite luchadores are in CMLL right now. And the quality of work that they're putting on is just phenomenal. I feel like I sound like Dave. I certainly feel like Dave Meltzer right now. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I definitely have on a previous episode, but when I record these, I hold the mic in my hand. I don't have a stand for it right now. I have one in my closet, but I just have been too lazy. It takes up too much space. It takes up so much space. And I only use this mic when I am recording podcasts or videos. I have a mic that I use like this part of like headphones, like a headset, for when like I'm chatting with friends or stuff like that. But when I'm doing these podcasts, I want you to imagine me sitting in my chair in front of my computer, mic in my hand, like Dave on those damn Wrestling Observer videos. But he's been really, really up on CMLL, positively talking about how well they're drawing and all this stuff. But like the work is just unbelievable. Hologram, Místico, Difunto, and Beast Mortos. I think that was the best match of the night. Didn't even go 13 full minutes. It was great though. Fantastic. Felt great. The last match of that night, main event, MJF against Santokan Jr. Really good match again. I think not the best of the night, but I do think it was a really good match. I am not as down on the MJF CMLL performances as I guess others have been. I've seen others talking about, not big fans of MJF. They don't really think he's that great. I think that he is in a very good environment. And I think that he understands the environment that he's in when he works in CMLL. I see a lot of people criticizing his, playing to the crowd and not doing, that many moves and stuff. But I think that's a positive for this environment, especially for the role that he's playing. He's drawing boos, and, he's the Rudo here. I mean, Sandokan Jr. is the Rudo here as well, but he's like the national, this match was very much Mexico against Estados Unidos, right? Like Mexico versus the U.S., and I think both sides played the part really well. I was not expecting Sandokan Jr. to win this match, but I was happy that he got, again, awesome opportunity for him. Once again, even in a loss, I still do think that he came out pretty good. Some people will disagree. That's okay. I guess we have two different perspectives on this. I'm not saying that they're wrong or anything. I hope they're not saying that I'm wrong, because if they do, I don't know. I probably won't see it, but but yeah, no, I thought this was solid. I think, like I said, MJF match against Averno was good. MJF match against Sandokan Jr. was good. The first Mexico match I thought was also good. And I think that it has been built very well. I do think that there's a lot of interest in the Anniversario match. I think the Apuesta should main event. I do think the Apuesta should main event. I do think also, though, MJF Mexico will have a better match, way better match than Jericho Mexico last year. I just think MJF is, I think, a little better than last year's Jericho was in CMLL. Post-match stuff, shouts out to John Cruz, I believe is his name, who was doing the translating for MJF for the Arena Mexico crowd. He was doing it in Spanish. He was fantastic. Keep him coming back as well when MJF comes around. Whenever any Rudo comes around, send John Cruz with him, because he's very good at working that crowd. He's very good at getting the reactions. And also, he's very good at keeping MJF from accidentally bending his hair. During the post-match, Mexico runs out, and Mexico's talking to MJF, saying he wants the hair match, and MJF was like, "No, I'm only doing it for my title. You're not getting my hair." But MJF almost agreed to the hair before John Cruz kind of wised him up to it. I thought that was crazy good bit, really good bit there. But yeah, good stuff coming out of that. I think the build has been interesting, and I think all I have to do is land it now. That match is going to get good reactions when Mexico becomes the next CMLL World Light Heavyweight Champion. Play it straight, play it true. I think that you got a good thing here coming. I haven't been talking about any Saturdays, but I'll talk about this one, because this August 16th, Sky Team versus Los Villanos. It was Máscara Dorada and Neon against Hijo del Villano Tercero and Villano Tercero Jr. Awesome match. And I say that with one caveat. I think they have a better one in them, but I think this one was really good. I wish Los Villanos would have won, but again, I am keeping the faith. I don't think that the loss hurts them too bad. I mean, Sky Team is top kind of team, they're one of the kind of main eventing kind of trios. Máscara Dorada is a top guy. Neon is a top guy now. Hijo del Villano Tercero and Villano Tercero Jr. are now kind of being elevated to that top position, and I think that eating losses doesn't hurt them as much as it would, I guess, in another spot, if that makes sense. And when, I'm not saying if, I'm saying when Los Villanos beat Los Hermanos Chavez at El Anniversario, which this is a match that has been set for the CMLL World Tag Team Championships, I think they have a better match in them. That Los Villanos will win to defend those World Tag Team Championships against Sky Team. So, keeping the faith there. The main event from that Arena Coliseo show as well, Hologram Místico Templario against Beast Mortos, Ultimo Guerrero, Volador Jr. Good. The tag team match before it I thought was better, but it was good. Moving on now to our last catch-up for CMLL. This was this past Friday, August 22nd. My thoughts are as follows. First match, Calavera Jr., Primero and Segundo, and Troglodita. Keep them together. That's a very good young trio. Very good Rudos. Keep them together. India Su and Princesa Suhei, they had a good match against Las Valientitas. I thought that match was also really good. What else do we have here? Spinhe and Dijak, I don't really have anything on that one. I thought it was fine. The United Empire, Templario and TJP, they hold the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships, and they faced Los Villanos. I thought that match was really good. I actually really did think that match was really good, and the only thing that I was a bit down on, again, was Los Villanos losing. But again, like I said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is the gold glistening around Los Villanos' waists from the World Tag Team Championships. They're already the Coliseo Tag Team Champions, but I think when they win those world titles, it's going to be a sweet, sweet moment. I have so much faith. And if the Anniversario comes and they lose, I don't know. I will be a broken man, but I'll pick myself back up, I guess. The main event from last Friday, Sky Team, well, it was part of Sky Team, Místico and Neon and Titan faced off against Los Guerreros Laguneros, Gran Guerrero, Stuka Jr., and Ultimo Guerrero. 3 straight weeks, I would like to say, Ultimo Guerrero having fantastic matches on Fridays. I've said this earlier with the Sky Team Trios main event from, I think it was like 2 weeks before this. The most tried and true formula, like I said, Místico and 2 top técnicos against like 3 top rudos, and in this case, Los Guerreros Laguneros. I don't think there's a better like kind of showcase rudo team than Los Guerreros Laguneros in that they are able to kind of like make all of these high-flying technicals look so good all the time. Like, I mean, the things they were setting up, Neon was having these unbelievably good sequences. Titan was looking fantastic, doing all these incredible things. Místico and Ultimo Guerrero standing in the middle of the ring. Místico raises his hands, you hear nothing but cheers. Ultimo Guerrero raises his hands, you hear ooh, ooh, and some boos as well, because you know rudos are supposed to be drawing boos. I mean, fantastic. Absolutely incredible stuff. Just loved it. And this is like, you know, maybe one of the best reasons to watch CMLL is just watching these matches, because it is, you know, such a light, such a, you know, force for good. It feels like you watch these like comfort, and I've seen this described like this. These are like comfort main events, like comfort matches that like they are so good. Like what they're doing is so good, and you know they're hitting all these incredible things, and the crowd is just going insane. 16,000 people in there, screaming their heads off, going with the match. You know, fantastic. Like, to me, I'm always gonna pop for these types of matches. Anyways, let's take a look at this week really quickly. Is the CMLL 2025 International Grand Prix. For those who are unfamiliar with this concept of the Grand Prix, a very simplified way to describe it is, well, it's a torneo cibernético, and if you don't know what that is, imagine if like a Survivor Series match was like really good. One side, Místico, Volador Jr., Atlantis Jr., Máscara Dorada, Neón, Templario, Titán, Ángel de Oro, and Sandokan Jr. Oh, and Difunto. That's Team Mexico. Team International this year will be Mike Speedball Bailey, Rocky Azucar Romero, Taiji Ishimori, the Beast Mortos, who is not representing on Team Mexico, but he's on Team US or Team International. The reasoning is I actually don't remember. They explained it, but I think it's just he's a beast. Leo Rush, Action Andretti, I believe they're the crew. Michael Oku, TJP, Robbie X, and Donovan Dijak. I believe that Team Mexico should win. I think that they should be the winners. Last year, Claudio Castagnoli won it for Team International. However, no one really stands out to me as like a favorite to win it from Team Mexico. But then again, no one really stands out from Team International either. If I had to guess, Máscara Dorada maybe, or I can't think of anything Atlantis Jr. has won in a while. Atlantis Jr. could probably win that. Probably won't be Volador Jr. I don't think it'll be Místico. He won 2 years ago. Neon just won Leyenda de Plata. I don't think it'll be him. Templario, I don't think so. Titan, no. Anildoro, no. Sandokan Jr., no. Difunto would be a crazy pick. And if he won, that would be incredible. I wouldn't be mad. The thing is, I wouldn't really be mad at anybody from Team Mexico winning. But I think it would be crazy if Difunto won. In a good way. And then last, I think this is the last little bit. Wow, 56 minutes. Hang that jersey up in the rafters of the Club Lucha. I want to talk very quickly about a match coming up. Another match on Friday that is coming up that I'm super excited for in the AEW ROH verse, I guess, is Bandido against Hechicero. It's on the ROH pay-per-view for the ROH World Championship. Super duper excited with this one. I'm a big fan of the vignette that they aired, I think, a couple of weeks ago with Bandido. Is like a cinematic vignette, Bandido and Hechicero. I think that both of these luchadores are very, very good. I mean, amongst the best in the world right now. Bandido, he is now the double champ. He won the AEW World Tag Team Championships with Brody King. I've not had a chance to watch that match, but I'm very happy with the result because I did not expect it at all. In fact, I was kind of scared that FTR was going to win, and it was just going to be another FTR reign. I was like, oh, man. Oh, those dastardly FTRs. But, I mean, surprising, and I think a really good decision to put the belts on Bandido and Brody King. I think that, you know, all their matches that I've seen from Dynamite have been really good. And I think they mesh well as a tag team. And they're one of those tag teams that's like, they're quote unquote thrown together. But I mean, I think they're very much on the same page and they have developed a lot of really good moves together, like a good moveset together. They work together, good chemistry, everything like that. So I think that's really, really solid. And Bandido continues to build his case for being the best wrestler of the year this year. He's had a ton of good ones. I mean, someone described it on Twitter, I believe, as the summer of Bandido. And yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's been a good summer. It's been a good summer for Lucha Libre. I think so, in my eyes. Anyways, I'm going to be keeping a big eye on that match, Bandido and Hechicero. Definitely looking forward to it a lot. And yeah, I think that's the end of this episode. 58 minutes. I'm looking at the clock here. Thank you so much for listening. Next time, hopefully, it's not just me, but if it is just me, I'm going 56 minutes again. I can do it. I know I can now. I mean, I've been able to. I think I had early episodes that were longer than this one, actually. And I didn't even include real old heads, real Club Lucha old heads from 2 years ago. Will remember the Lucha movie reviews, which I have been wanting so badly to bring back. I have so many ideas for videos, other videos on this channel as well, beyond just the podcast. I think the podcast is a good, like, regular kind of thing to do, especially for, keeping up with current lucha and, like, catching up and stuff like that. But I think that I have a lot of video ideas in terms of, like, past, like, history kind of stuff. I've already talked about the Paraguayo one, and I've kind of been considering just splitting that one into pieces because it's taking me a lot longer than I had hoped or anticipated. I'm still doing it. I'm still watching. If you ever see me posting screenshots on Twitter of, like, Paraguayo, that's what I'm doing. You know, or if I'm ever talking about, Los Perros del Mal or anything like that. I don't do it that often because I do try and, like, save it for the video. But, I'm always on YouTube. I'm always watching older stuff on there, and I just keep thinking of new ideas and like new video things, like new video concepts and stuff to put on there. But there's only so many hours in the day, and I really do apologize. I wish I had more. And I'm finishing up setting up the Club Lucha merch shop as well. I've been working on some designs. I plan on getting some other artwork as well thrown up on there. Not just for me, obviously paying a designer. Some things that I designed as well that are simple kind of designs, but I think that I think they're nice. I'm not gonna like talk against myself here. But obviously there's artists whose styles that I absolutely love that I would love to get designs from them on the shop and stuff like that. So that's coming soon as well. I've been working on it for a little while, and sometimes I am stretched quite thin. And again, I apologize. But at the end of the day, I want to be, I'm not super comfortable delegating a lot of things because I kind of have like a vision of what I want all these things to look like, and it's hard for me to delegate any of these things, and that's a fault. It is a fault. All of us have them. Mine is I take on a lot, and it's hard for me to be hyper focused on one thing. I like to work on a lot of things. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, right, the Club Lucha page, 1 hour by the way. 1 hour, 1 minute. I post a video there every three days a week, basically, right? And here's a look behind the curtain. Those videos take us some time, right? I try and do 2 videos a week that are like more than just a match edit, because I feel like those, especially like if it's like a showcase of someone's career, a showcase of someone from like the 90s or 2000s, people make a lot of edits of a lot of wrestlers, but, I don't want to say I'm the only person who's like doing very specific, like, people from a very specific time period. There's not a lot of people who are making edits for like, well, for example, I've never seen anyone make an edit of the matches that La Parca and Lizmark had back in the 90s, right? Like, a lot of people tend to gravitate more to doing edits of the modern day of like the big 2 companies in the US, right? It'll be like a lot of AEW edits, a lot of WWE edits, some WCW edits. Some people do New Japan edits. I still don't understand why they're doing that. I mean, they're very strict with their footage and stuff, and they'll take you down very quickly. But people do stuff like that, and there's not that many people, I feel like, who, and it almost feels like it's something that I enjoy doing it, but it also feels almost like a responsibility, kind of. And I'm not trying to I'm not saying, I'm not trying to get a big head about any of this, right? But I do think that I have to showcase these things, right? Like, some of these things, deserve to be praised and deserve to be remembered, and other people spread and give people pique their interest in some of these old rivalries and some of these older luchadores who are not in mainstream discussions and stuff like that. Like, they deserve to be celebrated. They deserve to have little edits and videos made of them and stuff like that as well. And that's one of the things I really like to do over on Instagram. And I make those videos like I said, 3 times a week. They take a lot of time. In between that, I try and work on t-shirt designs and stuff like that. And then I also other videos for the YouTube channel, the podcast. I have a very full plate is what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to use it as an excuse. I'm just trying to let you know, a little behind the scenes, why some of these things are taking me a little longer than anticipated. And I hope you understand. And if you don't, I get that too, but I don't know what we're going to do about that. But again, though, I do appreciate you all very much for hanging in there with me and for supporting the Club Lucha Podcast and the YouTube channel and any other little endeavors that I like to do. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think that's it for this episode. So Until next time, 1 hour and almost a whole hour and 5 minutes. Until next time, I'll catch you later. See ya.